Hello everyone. Welcome to the second class of Module 2, Business Metrics. In this class, we will do a case study together, building a business metrics system for a startup from scratch. It's also a simulation of a business analyst's real work situation. This case study is about Seattle's shared bike business. It's based on a real case, but the numbers are all by assumption. A little bit of background. As of today, more than 1,000 shared bikes are distributed in Seattle. There are 3 companies in the market. Let's call them Yellow Bike, Orange Bike, and Green Bike. People can download the map, find a bike, and scan the QR code to unlock, ride, and lock again to finish. Users will pay according to the time they spent with the bike. It's a highly competitive market. Data-driven operations will be a key to success. Suppose you were hired by Yellow Bike as the first business analyst in their company. The CEO asks you to build some metrics to help the team measure their daily operations. Also, he wants to hear your recommendations on operations strategy based on the metrics and report you built. So, what would you do for Yellow Bike to help them win the game? Let's recap the 5 steps for metrics design. It's at the right lower corner of each slide to remind you. For every business metrics question, start with the business goal. So, the first thing to do on your first day at Yellow Bike is to talk to the CEO and operations team to clarify the business goals. Be prepared with questions for your stakeholders. Good questions can be something like, what problems are we trying to solve? What do we want to achieve in the next X months? How are we doing at the current stage? You may have asked a lot of questions, but eventually figured out the goal is very simple: growth. Yellow Bike wants to increase its user base and revenue. Growth is usually the goal for startups. But the questions you have asked will help you understand what's behind the growth and break down the business process to growth, which is our step number 2. In the second step, we want to analyze the process of user growth for Yellow Bike. The intent is to understand the whole process to bring in new customers and identify any stages that are critical in the user's path. The first stage is always app acquisition. The user has to download Yellow Bike's app to get started. After the download, the user has to sign up. If the first 2 stages are complicated, it will be a huge blocker to user growth. Once the app and account are set up, a user can scan the QR code on any bike to unlock and ride. After the ride, the user can leave the bike by the road and lock the bike to finish. The next step is to quantify each stage's contribution to user growth. In the download stage, the number of downloads by different channel is a first measurement of new bike users, although they might now end up with a ride later. We also need to count number of signed up users, number of scans, number of unlocks, number of rides, and even length of rides in each stage. Not everyone will go through all the stages to complete a ride, so how should we define user growth? Should we count the app downloads as new users, or should we count the users who completed a ride as new users? Here's the important thing. As a business analyst, you need to communicate those decisions with your stakeholder and clarify which stages in this process they are really interested in. In Yellow Bike's case, they want to see user growth as a 2-phase process. First, users signed in as a potential rider. Second, user completed a ride as an active rider. All other counts are good to see, but not critical to measure user growth. Make sure you always check the business goal and align your numbers to it. Here's the interesting step. What are the right metrics? Is a simple count sufficient to measure user growth? Let's remember the standard of good metrics we learned in the last lecture. Good metrics should be comparative, easy to act on, and they should directly reflect the business goal. Let's say we look at the number of signed-in users and the number of users that had rides separately. Can we tell our user count is actually growing by 2 growing numbers? No, because not all new signed-in users will ride a bike, and not all new rides can be attributed to new users. That's why we need ratio here. We divide total number of users that had rides by the total number of signed-up users. That's the percentage of active riders. This is a good measurement to show user growth. If the percentage goes up, then we can tell new users are actually converting to active riders pretty well. If the percentage goes down, then we can tell our users are not riding the bike a lot, even though the number of new users may go up. Also, we need to measure user growth by revenue perspective. As users will pay for the time they spend with the bike, We need to know on average how users are doing. We don't want to only look at the total time length or rides because there might be some super riders who spend way too much time on it. We will use ratio again. Take the total number of rides and divide it by the total number of users that had rides. That's ride per user. Or take total length of the ride time and divide it by total number of users that had rides. That's average ride time per user. In the last step, we need to segment the metrics to identify which channel growth comes from. For downloads and signups, we want to break down the counts to download channel and signup methods. We also need to know when and where a ride starts and ends. Now, you have all the metrics defined. Make sure you review again with Yellow Bike's CEO before you start writing SQL queries and build reports. We will skip the technical part to produce a report and jump into the last phase. What actionable insights can your metrics provide? Let's see a few here. First, by looking at the number of downloads by channel, we know the best or worst channel so we can improve our product marketing strategy. Second, by looking at the number of signed up users by methods, we know users' least favorite way to sign up so we can improve it. Finally, by looking at the number of rides by location, we know where users frequently ride the bikes, and the operations team can place more bikes at those locations. Congratulations! You've delivered awesome insights to Yellow Bike, and they can drive their business with that data. In this module, we learned a framework approach to design, build, and interpret business metrics. You will find more complex business metrics in interviews or real-work situations. Here are my tips to face those challenges. First, calm down and find the goal. Analyze the whole business process and find the most important element to that goal. Then, recall all the relevant metrics you have learned in the past and apply them to your situation. Building business metrics is a combination of logical frameworks and practical experience. Try to build your own framework so you can think and solve metrics problems quickly. This way, you can build a business metric mindset. See you in the next module.